What's up, guys? Welcome back to gamingti. My name's Imani.
And I'm Tristan, and we got an episode for you, like we do every week. And this week we're going to be talking about some of the new smartphone stuff. The S21 came out this week.
Yep.
You been keeping up with it?
It's funny. I saw like a bunch of obviously the tech YouTubers, MKBHD, Super Saf, all Dave 2D, all the big guys. They dropped their reviews, and I haven't really watched a single one. Like, don't get me wrong, the S21 looks good. The specs are nice. Everything that should be there is there, like, to get me interested. I don't know, man. It's just not. I don't know. Smartphones don't excite me as much anymore.
It just doesn't do it for you. Yeah, like I think I've had kind of the same experience because I haven't really, like, I've seen the thumbnails and stuff, but nothing has like enticed me to like click this and watch this video. Like,
Yeah.
I think I watched one video. I watched Mr. Who's the Boss video on the smartphone the camera comparison with the iPhone 12.
Oh, the camera I watched the battery comparison.
Like, how's the battery life? I was gonna watch that.
Destroyed everything, like, and by like a decent margin. And it's not just the battery though. It's also because Samsung, like, okay, they got a lot of heat last year because of the multiple chipsets. They had the Exynos and the Snapdragon,
one being really crappy. Yeah,
exactly. So they finally like really bumped up how efficient the Exynos processor and stuff is. And like, we're talking about it might seem like a lot. I think they said like something like 80% more efficient, but again, it's only 80% more efficient in the chipset area, which means realistically overall efficiency is not all that much more. It might be like 5-10%, but like when I can't remember exactly, but I think like when the iPhones, and so he compared the S20, the Note 20, the iPhone, the most recent iPhones. I forget the name. I don't know if is it the 12?
Yeah,
the 11.
We're at 12. Yeah, we're at 12.
I don't know if he did the 12s. I think he did 11 to keep it like consistent with like last gen versus current gen. And everything else died first, and like the S21 was, I think, at like 10% or something when everything else was dead. So it beat it out. And yeah, I mean, performance was impressive.
So it's more and that has to be like just efficiency, because the battery is about the same size. I think the Ultra has like 600 extra milliamp hours compared to last year, but it's basically the same size.
Yeah. Actually, last year, if I remember correctly, I think last year the S20 Ultra had a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, but the Note 20 Ultra had 4,000, right? So people were like, on paper, like, that's not too good, but apparently because the Note 20 had adaptive refresh rate. So again, all of these phones are at 120 hertz.
Yeah.
Like, it can go from obviously 120 hertz to down to 11 like hertz, and that really helped out the battery life, because even though the Note 20 had a smaller battery, it actually died after the S20. So performance, again, battery performance is definitely getting there. It's getting a lot better. I shouldn't say battery performance, but just battery life. It's at this point, like, they were well into like the over 5 hours for all of these phones. So it's like,
and 5 hours in a battery stress test, that's it's gonna be fine.
Yeah,
like
real world use.
I checked out his the camera comparison look really good. It looked like like ultimately what he found, I should say, is that video, and like I was watching the comparisons on YouTube, like you have the side by side shot. Like, video really isn't great. Like, it's good, but just it's not as good as the as the iPhone. But when it
Yeah.
comes to photos, bro, like
It's killing it.
when it's annihilating it. And I'm like, I was shocked because I'm looking at it. I was like, what? The iPhone photos aren't, they're not bad, bro. It's like, it's the iPhone. Like, it's not bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's so much better. Like, it is just so much noticeably better. Like, the color, I think part of it is that I like more of the punchy colors. So that could be why I lean more to
Where
it.
you lean towards. And so I don't know if you've seen MKBHD's video on videos. Like, he's done multiple where like he would put out polls on Twitter and Instagram, you know, side by side, you know, comparison, where again it's like basically camera of the best camera of the year, but like selected by the users. Like by the, I mean, not by the user, by the viewers. So we would have these polls out, and it would be a case of most people seem to lean more towards saturated, colorful, punchy pictures, generally speaking. So, and each year it's always been a different winner. It's always been a different, essentially company that's won.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to see that sometimes it's not necessarily about the photo being better, but just looking better, if that makes sense. Just what appeals to people more.
Yeah. Like it goes back and forth. It's just, I don't know, man. Like when it comes to detail too, it was
Super crisp.
yeah. I think that's just partly because of well, not partly, maybe entirely just because of the bigger sensor size. Because the iPhone
Right.
still has the 13 megapixel camera, but like 108 megapixels. Plus, you have the option to go full 108 megapixel mode, which is like, I don't know,
Yeah.
understand why you would ever do that, but you can do it.
I mean, I think that's always been a thing for smartphones, though, right? Like, how much can we push the envelope, right?
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that, you know, they actually, one thing I really do like is that they have essentially a custom camera mode with the, what's it called, the macro. So there's not an actual macro lens on the camera. It's just they're using the ultra wide, but they're using software to like macro in, and it's a lot of people have been praising it. You know, like a lot of people have been saying like, and again, I haven't watched the reviews, but from seeing the interactions of the tech YouTubers, I think one of them posted, I think it was John from TLD Today, Jonathan Morrison, like I think he posted it, or somebody posted it, and then everybody, like all the other tech YouTubers were like, yep, more people need to do this. You know?
Yeah.
So
the macro camera is insane. Like it's so good it almost looks like a microscope, bro. Like you get
Right.
some insane macro shots. Like you pointing at a table and you'd see the texture of the
grain.
table's material. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like it's so much better than literally any other macro camera on the market right now. Like it's laughable to compare to anything else. That's how far ahead it is.
And the crazy thing is, again, it's just software. It's not like they're using a literal macro lens. It's just software applied to the ultra wide.
I think they are using a macro lens for that. But when they're using portrait mode, they use software for some reason. Even though they have the depth sensor, they still use the ultra wide. Well, not the ultra wide. They still use like the main camera to do the depth stuff. So
right,
like the portrait modes aren't great. The portrait modes are still kind of, well, not still, because I remember in the past Samsung had good portrait mode, but yeah, they're not that good now.
I mean, portrait mode is like a really hit or miss thing, and again, software is like a big component of that, just because portrait mode is all about the depth of field, right? It's about the bokeh, you know, the blurry stuff that you see.
Like for listeners, it's like the effect. Imani has on his camera right now.
Yeah, so where it blurs everything
yeah.
around, and it makes it seem like, again, I'm the main subject, and everything around me is like blurred out.
Yeah, I
and
think
a
most
lot of
people
people
should know what portrait mode is by now.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, and a lot of people love it because, again, it gives you like a main subject to focus on, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, normally big cameras do it because they have big sensors, and they're able to, again, finally focus in on a subject and then have everything else just be blurry. And like, that is real depth of field, like real bokeh. And then people were like, hey, we can just use AI to like trace the outline of the person or the subject and then just blur everything out in software.
Yeah, Google
and
would be
then that's when yeah, exactly. And that's when like software, people were like, oh, software might be better. But again, there's always going to be a case where it's a little bit off.
Yeah, it's just
so
yeah. One thing,
but no, apparently, continue.
So like one thing that I don't like about the S21 is that Samsung, just after mocking Apple for not including a charger in the box, like I think they had literal memes about it. It was on their website, on their Twitter, all kind of nonsense. And then they went and did the same thing.
The exact same thing.
And here's the thing, right? It's not the first time this has happened. Like, they did it with...
Nope.
They did it with
the headphone jack.
Yeah, with the headphone jack. They did it with the headphone jack, and was there... I think there was one other thing, too. But Samsung they keep, like, mocking Apple to get the free marketing, and then copying them.
And then copy them. And it's funny because they actually were scrambling to, like, delete their ads, from last year, where they were saying, oh, we're going to include, this in the... Oh, wait, headphones in the box. That was the
right, headphones in the box. Right.
Yeah.
But after they released the Galaxy Buds and realized, Apple maybe have it right. They can make
Apple been onto something.
They can make a lot of money by just like not including free shit and just making people buy shit.
And then obviously, again, you can easily say it's for the environment. We're doing the right thing.
Yep.
Everybody has chargers. You have a charger at home. Why do you need another one? We're gonna streamline the box, make things cheaper, better for the environment.
Yeah, I would say that they did make the phones cheaper, but how much of that is still just profit, just from not having to manufacture that bigger box? Like, that has to save them so much money. Like,
and again, going to freight, as somebody who deals with packaging, package engineering, because you're able to fit more phones onto a pallet, you literally reduce your freight costs, because now you're able to ship the same amount of phones in less amount of shipments.
Exactly. So
freight is a huge cost. Although, again, Samsung being like, I don't know if people realize how big Samsung is. Like, Samsung, let me double check this before I say this, because I think Samsung manufactures ships, like shipping ships, like freight ships.
Hello?
Yeah.
Really? You said...
Yes,
you said
so
ships,
Samsung
right?
Heavy... Samsung Heavy
ships?
Industries. Ships.
Okay, bro.
Samsung Heavy Industries was the first ship manufacturer in the world to develop an Arctic shuttle tanker. That's an oil breaking tanker, but like they have a whole naval engineering department.
Damn.
They have a military division actually as well. Samsung is into a lot more things than I originally thought. There was a really awesome video I watched by Cold Fusion. Great video documentary channel on YouTube. You guys really should check him out. The guy's name is Dagogo All Trade, Australian guy, super awesome. And like, he makes some really, really well researched, stuff. And he basically does these like deep dives into, different companies, different, concepts, phenomenons and stuff like that. Whether it be crypto, what it is and all of that stuff. And yeah, when I watched, his video, like how big is Samsung actually? And yeah, they have a military division. They have a shipping, like literally a ship manufacturing division, shipbuilding, as well as even health insurance division. So it's yeah.
That has me kind of worried, bro. So Samsung, oh my god. So they sell the fitness watch and they have a health insurance division?
So apparently, if I remember correctly, when I looked into it, they have a health insurance division, mostly for their employees.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like they're self-contained in terms of like being able to provide health insurance for their employees. Kind of, I think it's not unlike how, for example, Tesla has, at least just in California for right now, their own insurance company for Teslas. So like when people buy Teslas, instead of having to go to some of these other insurance companies that charge astronomical amounts, they could insure the cars themselves just because they know how safe the cars are and they could do it cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like a similar situation that they're doing.
Okay.
But yeah, Samsung is, it's crazy how like Samsung went from, I believe that they were just like a Korean grocery store chain, like supermarket store chain, to what they are now. You know?
Like for the longest while, like before they were in the smartphone industry, we just knew them as like they sold appliances, like just household appliances, basically.
Yep.
That a lot of the times weren't even great. Like they were
like the knockoff stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, for a long time they were pretty ass, bro. And then and then like the smartphone, they just got into the smartphone industry and it took off. And the TVs, I think just screens on the whole, bro. They like still to this day, no one does screens better.
And that's the thing. Like a lot of people don't know, if you open up an iPhone, you're going to see a bunch of Samsung parts in there.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. I think they made the processor, well, on some of last year's iPhones.
Some. Yep.
Yeah. Crazy,
so Samsung
so
is
big.
and it's crazy. Like they literally dealt in. So Samsung isn't even 100 years old, by the way. In 1938, they originally dealt in dried fish, locally grown groceries, and noodles.
Bro, they
were like a small trading company with 40 employees.
That is
and
come up, bro. Like,
talk about the glow up, right?
Props to them. Props to them. Still screw them for not including the charger though. Back to the original. Back to the original point. Like, still screw them for not including the charger, because the way they're doing it, like 100%, is not for the environment. Like the way Xiaomi is doing it, because Xiaomi did it with the Mi 11 that they released.
Yeah, the Mi 11. Mm-hmm.
And the way they're doing it, at least in China, and that's where most of their market is, because they are a Chinese company. They sell the phone without the charger. It comes without a charger, but you could request the charger for free. So like, because
I mean, realistically speaking, there are people who either maybe have old chargers that broke and stuff like that. So like being able to request it for free, like again, but have it as an option rather than just taking it off the table completely.
Exactly. Because that way you could say like, oh yeah, we actually do care about the environment, which is why I was like, when Apple did it, I was like, because if you remember, I said, yeah, this is not for the environment at all, because you're making people buy more stuff. Like, it's the most Apple move you've done. This is what you do. You remove things to make people buy them.
That's Apple's signature move. Again, you know, I think we were joking. If they made the car, you know, they'd probably sell you the wheel separate.
Exactly. Don't pretend that this is for the environment.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things where you're going to see a lot of companies just hypocritical practices. And it's not really, I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. But this goes back to the whole thing of, it's funny we're talking about this just because smartphones, like, again, our interest specifically in the smartphone area has kind of waned over the years.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it is. Yeah, for me, it's kind of like I kind of know what I'm getting, so I'm like not as interested to see it. Like what typically what I do now is I'll stay away from smartphone videos for like a while and just let it it's kind of like watching a series, like a TV series or something. I just let it build up. I just let all the features build up instead of like watching like waiting for a small feature, like watching constantly and just waiting for a small incremental feature. I'll just like wait, and then I'll finally watch a review. And it's like, oh, really? All this stuff are features now?
All of this has happened?
That's
I mean, compared to before where it was like we would literally be like consuming content as it came out. It's like new phone, what's the content, you know?
Yeah.
But now it's just like,
yeah,
call me when something important happens.
yeah, because I think it's just more like it's just incremental updates, really. In the past, like the jump between the iPhone 3 to the iPhone 4 was huge, and then to the 5, again huge. Same thing for 6, and then around 7, 8. That's when it started to get like a little more, like a little less exciting.
That's Moore's law, I guess, right? It's exponential improvement at the start, and then it's just kind of like it plateaus, you know. And one has to ask, like, is that the same case? Like, does Moore's law also apply to like human interest in certain things? Like, again, initially when something is new, it's again exponential, and then it just kind of tapers off, you know.
It's a philosophical question, bro.
Like we like to get philosophical.
It could be that we're just not as interested anymore. But
that's
I mean,
true.
I've mentioned it before, I think. I'm a huge fucking nerd. This stuff is supposed to excite me. Like PC stuff, as incremental as it could get at times, I'm still excited by it.
For sure.
So,
like, again, we had a bunch of PC announcements last year.
Even though I can't buy anything, I'm still excited by it. Like I'm still excited by the new stuff. And
of course, I mean, like, honestly, I'm still looking for 3070. I can only find it in pre-builds.
You could get one for like $3,000. For like,
let me just go and pay for what I paid for my PC for one part. Yeah.
I mean, they're on the market. It's just you gotta buy it from scalpers, which you should just never do.
No, don't support that industry.
Yeah, scalpers are so shady, bro.
And the crazy thing is, again, like with scalpers too, it's a case of if you don't buy from them, their stock becomes worthless.
Exactly, and that's the thing. They're charging the amounts that they're charging because they can. They won't charge it if they think no one's gonna buy it. They're only charging it because they know they're gonna get it sold.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's like if you're food on airplanes.
Yeah.
Such a bad comparison.
Okay. If you're one of those people that buy from scalpers, I kind of hate you, but I understand.
We need
at the same time, like you want the product and you have the money to buy it, but still, I kind of hate you.
we need the Jordan meme. Stop it. Get some help.
Get some help.
Oh man.
Oh bro. Yeah. Speaking about Xiaomi, like we were mentioning Xiaomi earlier. Like I think we mentioned like the bands we had. I think we mentioned it before in an episode.
Oh yes, yeah.
Xiaomi bands.
We're wearing them right now. The fitness band.
Yeah. Yo, I got the strangest notification from my band this week. Like I sent you it.
Yeah.
it was a 283-day-old notification for like an email that I barely use, and like it was concerning like a Reddit post or like some subreddit that had a post about Steam making a Chinese only version, because like in China they're a
They're
bit
very
iffy about,
restrictive.
yeah, about stuff. So
Yeah.
Steam had to like make their own version for China, and my band just pushed that notification for me. It didn't even come up on my phone. That
Oh, really? Not even on your phone. It was just the band.
No, it was just the band. Like it came up on. I was using my phone at the time. It came up on my band, and like a few minutes later, it came up on my phone.
That's what we were talking about too. I think not on stream, but before we were like, yo, sometimes my band gets a notification before my phone does.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, but not like it does. Usually,
Not
it's not
like that far ahead. Normally, it's like a second or two.
And usually, it's not a 283-day-old notification about China, where this spot is made.
It's like, oh, let's snoop into this guy's email. Let's see what he's got going on.
It's kind of like Shelby was telling me, "Oh, you're interested in China, there, bud? What you want to know about China, bud?
What you saying about China? I mean,
just know that we know, okay? They just sent me notification.
I see you mentioned China here. Just remember, we know what you're doing. We know what you're talking about.
That was so bizarre, bro.
And didn't you say that you also got an attempt on your Steam account as well?
Yeah. Same day. Like a couple hours later, someone tried to log into my Steam account, and like this.
Did you get like that location from where they tried to log in?
It said Milan, like Italy, but yeah, VPNs, bro. Like
VPNs are a thing, yeah.
Yeah, it could be anywhere. God.
Unless there's a Tristan. Wait, no, I mean, you might not even use your.
No, I don't use my name for on Steam. Are you crazy? Steam?
I mean, unless somebody had a real similar name, I doubt it.
The username they entered was Tristan San. Like Tristan San. Yeah. As if there's a Japanese person named Tristan.
Living in Italy.
You're living in Italy. Like, if that person exists, you are the most interesting person in the world. Congrats. You're a Japanese-born person named Tristan. Living in Italy. Yeah.
Hey, living the life out there, man. I mean, it's really interesting how, again, all of these, it's the whole connectivity of it all. Because, like, how just, like, we've spoken about data before, but there's so much data that passes around nowadays, and
yeah, man,
it's like, so for example, right, an issue that we're having, I won't say it's an issue per se, but we have a Nest thermostat for the house, right, and it's, you can control the temperature and if the AC is on or the heat is on and all that stuff from your phone. Mm-hmm. And then it's also smart in the sense that it could like learn your schedule, or you could set schedules for like when you want the house to be this temperature, whatever, right? And so Google bought Nest, and basically the other day I was on the app, and because Google owns Nest, they essentially forced me to I guess update our profile, because it went from a case of like using, I guess, the works with Nest infrastructure to using just like everything through Google. So I did that, and then what happened is, like, I'm the primary person on the account. My parents are like connected to the account as well, but because I'm the primary person, I updated, like they basically got pushed to like have to be forced to connect their Google account to the Nest account, like to Nest, which again is owned by Google. So it works with like within Google's entire ecosystem. And like my dad absolutely hates it. Like he was like, oh man, like I would need my account connected to this and that. And like, because he used to get freaked out by the fact that like, I don't know if you've ever got it, like this notification from Google saying like, oh, you have a bill due in X amount of days for this amount.
From
I remember
Chrome?
when he first got that, he was like, not even just on Chrome, but like sometimes just in your like notification panel.
Oh no, I never got there, but yeah, I get it on Chrome sometimes, but not there. Holy crap.
Yeah, like so normally like it's let me see.
That would freak me out.
They have silent notifications, right? Like normally in the silent notifications, there's tomorrow's weather, the daily forecast and stuff like that. Stuff where it's like they don't need to push it to you, but if you pull it down and you scroll down to the bottom of your notifications, it'll be there. And so like normally there's like a silent notification for it's like if you have a bill coming up. And then like he was like, how do they know I got that bill? And it's like, well, your email.
Your
like,
email.
you know? Yeah, and he was like, they're reading my email. Why are they reading my email? And it was like, you know, when you really think about it, like,
yeah, why are they reading your email? Like, when you really think about it, like, honestly,
it's for convenience. So,
sure,
it's interesting that, like, again, but we've agreed to this. We're in this system now, and it's just crazy how much data these companies, you know, again, they can have an AI pass through literally your entire email thing, and it's in part to collect data for advertising to see like, okay, they ordered this. Oh, okay, we know that they like this. Let's advertise that to them. Let's sell that to Amazon, so Amazon advertises it to them, and Amazon makes money. And it's just crazy how like this cycle goes, right? This connected future thing, you know?
Yeah, I was thinking about it like a few days ago, like after that you see what's going on with WhatsApp, how they're
yes,
like I didn't really follow up the story properly, but like they're changing the way the encryption works, so like Facebook would be able to like see the messages or something like that.
Yeah, so it's like Facebook, because they own WhatsApp, they can access some of your messages and stuff again for marketing and advertising.
Yeah, so they will read they basically effectively read your messages and then sell your messages to advertisers.
So if you're talking about an iPad, you might start getting notifications like, you know, or advertisements for iPads.
Yeah, which is so messed up, right? Like that's just taking it like not even a step far. That's like, and I knew that Facebook would try to do this. That's why I never use Messenger, because like I saw that coming from a mile away, and I was just like thinking that Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp, they're not what they say they are. Like Instagram and Facebook aren't social media platforms. Like if you really think about it, right? If there's like a car dealership that sells hot dogs and don't like they call themselves a car dealership, but all they do is give test drives, and on the test drive they'll sell you a hot dog or something like that.
Yeah.
Then are they a car dealership? They sell hot dogs. Right?
They're a hot dog dealership that gives you test drives in cars.
Horrible analogy, by the way. But you know what? You see what I'm getting at, right? Is that like,
yeah, of course.
Facebook, they market Instagram and Facebook as social media platforms, but that's not how they make money. They make money by selling data. They're a data selling company. They're not a social media company.
But again, it all, like, this is not anything new. Like, we know this. If a service is free, chances are you are the product.
Yeah, you're what's being sold there.
And it's crazy. Like, so it's like we have this idea of it, but I think the problem is how far they're going with it, right? Like, it's not a case of like there's a limit anymore. And I think that's part of the reason why the government, at least, and actually not just in America, but like multiple governments in Germany, you know, in Europe and so on, are also trying to like rein in the power that these companies have. And, you know, even in the case of, you know, not to get into politics, the most recent election, again, how information also spreads across, these platforms is they have a lot of power. Like, I mean, for all of these platforms to essentially ban the previous president from almost all of their sites, Facebook, Twitter, and
I have a spicy take on that, but I don't get too political, but I have a kind of a spicy take on that. But continue. No, continue.
You gotta say it after. But like, it's just crazy that, again, like, all of this, it's how this data can be used to manipulate opinions, manipulate, so many different things. And who's the right person to basically balance that? What is the entity that controls and decides what's right or wrong in that case, right? And there isn't one.
That kind of leads me into my take, and that, like, there is one now, and it's their CEOs. Like, after what happened with Trump, like, because as much as I dislike the man and his actions and the dumb things that he said, like, not like, just, I don't want to get too much into it, but he technically didn't incite the riot. He just kind of hinted at it, basically.
And so technically, it always goes down to technicalities, right? So it's like, technically he didn't, but we all know collectively, and it's so it always goes down to, like, how do you prove it though? So yeah.
My thing with that is, I don't think he should have gotten banned, because if he got banned for that, but not anything else that he said or done,
everything else he's done
in the past 4 years, even before that, this isn't anything new that he's been seeing. He's been seeing some really, really dumb stuff. And I think the only reason they banned him now is because they potentially saw him being harmful to their bottom line. I think that's the only reason. I don't think there was anything ethical about it.
No, I actually think it's the opposite. It's funny, like, a lot of these companies that banned him, banning him was worse for their bottom line. Because the thing is, no, and let me explain why.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, as somebody who follows the stock market a lot, like, Twitter stock plummeted, like, after they announced the ban. And so stock is just one aspect of it. But here's why it's such a... The reality is, these companies survive on clicks, right? They survive on getting eyeballs onto things. Whether what he says is good or bad, both people from both sides, all over the spectrum, go and look at it, go and comment on it. I see people from both sides always on his posts, right? And banning him. Oh wait, am I making your point?
Yeah, you kind of are.
I just realized, like, banning him removes the clicks and therefore hurts. No, it hurts their bottom line. Because
here's why it doesn't. Because people are still talking about him. Like, yeah, sure, like, he was probably going to become irrelevant soon anyway. Like, he would have still be seeing the same, like, stuff, but it would have been a lot less relevant since he's not president anymore. He doesn't have the power. So it's like, yeah, you could say all this crap, but it doesn't really matter. So, like, it would have still been relevant, but it would have gone down a substantial amount. People would have just been like, okay, we don't have to pay attention to this fool. All right.
That's the thing. I don't think that that's the case. I actually think that, because again, a lot of people are saying, this ain't the end, he'll be back 2024. But
like, if he gets impeached and it looks like they want to impeach him, it doesn't look like he would be able to run again.
Yeah. Yeah, both sides both sides seem like they're running for that. But like it's just a case of like it comes down to, again, you know, we're not a political podcast, but obviously this is very much like tech is unfortunately now a big part of politics.
Yeah, I mean this is it is a tech company that's banning the president.
Yeah, literally the president of the United States, which is insane. I never thought I would see the headline, one, the president gets impeached again, and two, you know, the president is banned from all social media. Like, that's crazy. But it's like a case of, with him getting banned, a lot of his followers, a lot of his supporters leave with him, you know, and it's a case of a lot of the times, a lot of them were on there for him, you know? So I don't know. I still see it as like hurting.
It would hurt that aspect of them, but I think they're doing it to avoid the fact that avoid a bigger impact, sorry, is that if there is this group of people that are constantly insurrecting, that for the overall economy, that's not good. And I think that's why they did it. I don't think it's anything ethical, because if there was an ethical issue, anything that he said, even before he started running for president, he was bannable.
Should have got him banned. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think I think it's also a case of, it's like, oh man, we got a lot of heat coming down on us if we don't do something about, like, legal heat, where it's like they're providing a platform, you know, for him to possibly incite. And I could easily see like their lawyers be like, I don't care what you have to do, you better get him off, because if you don't, and then they come at you, like, again, the government comes at you with a lawsuit saying you are technically responsible for the insurrection because you've provided the platform and you did not stop him, that's very bad. So it's a rough, it's a very, like, you know, they're teetering on a very weird thing.
Yeah, it kind of gets into the conversation of, like, what is the internet now? Like, what is the internet now, and what is, like, how important is social media now? Input, like, banning, like, I think he is someone who uses social media a whole lot, right? Yeah. It's like taking that away from someone, is that a privilege? Is it getting to the point where it's becoming a right? Like, is social media getting to that point? Like, especially, I think that's a good conversation to have now, especially in these times where you're not really allowed to socialize, really.
Yeah, and a lot of people get their socialization through, again, the internet. So let me, like, here's what I see the internet as, right? Like, the internet is, like, when it first started, like, again, right now it's evolved a bit past what I'm going to say just now. But the internet is the first time in all of human history that knowledge is now decentralized, and it is not being held by one main government, you know, corporation, you know, figure of any sort, religious, you know, group of any sort. Knowledge is now essentially completely decentralized, and it is essentially, to some extent, free, you know, and this is the first time in all of human history that this has happened. And because before, it was a case of, to get knowledge, you had to go to the person who held it, which is, you know, whether it be in the form of books and so on. This is the first time that it's there, and you don't have to go through someone to access it. So that's what the internet is. And right now it has become much more than that. Now it's a case of, it's communication. It's essentially what the framework of the modern world runs on. And you have to like then like you were asking, you know, is it a right? If the framework of the modern world runs on this, then it has to technically be a right. Like everybody has to be able to have access to it, no? Because then if they don't, then that means they can't function in society to some extent.
Yeah. I think we're gonna, as we progress, I think we're gonna have to have like a serious conversation. Like not us, like me and you. I mean, us as
Yeah,
a
as a
society
species.
are gonna have like a serious conversation on about like not just the internet, but like sites and stuff like that, like social media sites and like me like in the future maybe potentially other sites like the way e-commerce is going right now. I can see it getting to a stage where like if you don't have access to shop online, then that might be, you might not be able to live. Like it could get to a point like I don't think that's like unthinkable to happen.
I agree, and it's funny because I'm looking for it right now. Amazon has essentially hit a record number of users. Like so there's approximately I think 340 million Americans, right? Back in 2018, almost a third, you know, not even a third, 95 million people were Prime subscribers, right? I think now, if I remember correctly, reading their report, it's like 153 million or something. You know, 150 million people are. That is almost half the population of America.
The population, yeah. That is crazy.
And you have to also remember that, like, this is individual members. And it's very well possible that one person could cover a household, right? So it's like, for example, in my household, I have my Prime. My dad has Prime, but my mom doesn't because she'll come to either me or my dad to order something for her, right? So it's crazy how, and obviously that's one person, but like that's the case for a lot of people. They might just have one account for the entire house. So I'm gonna say almost 90% of America is probably covered by Prime, like by Amazon Prime, which is, you know, mind blowing. And we're gonna have to have a conversation where, again, at least certain, like you were saying, certain like sites, certain, you know, I'd say sectors of the internet might have to be like a right, whether it be like, for example, e-commerce, like you're saying, just not general knowledge sites like Wikipedia. Again, you have to have knowledge just be free out there nowadays. And you know, social media might become a right. And it's like, imagine if your social media account is like, this is getting dystopian future here, like your social media account becomes like literally your identity, right? You know, where it's, you cannot have multiple, you have to have one, and it always leads back to you, and you have to use it like everywhere. Like, I hope it doesn't get to that point, like, because then that kills on anonymity on the internet. And anonymity is both, it's a double-edged sword, you know, like on Twitch, if you're anonymous, you could swat somebody, you know, which is not a good thing. You could leave some really horrible comments, but then at the same time, not having the anonymity is like, you know, it could hold people accountable. It's just like, where does it end, you know?
Yeah, man. Like, I don't have the answers. I just have questions, bro. I don't have the answers.
I have a lot of questions.
Like, I'm smart enough to think of things. I'm not smart enough to find answers. That's it.
I'm smart enough to ask the questions. Don't expect the answers from me.
Yeah. I don't got the answers, bro.
But it's definitely like, these are real problems. I don't know if we could, I don't think we could call them like ethical or philosophical anymore. These are real world problems now. And these are things that we're going to have to tackle again, but like really hard within the next decade.
So going back to like why I originally brought it up. So do you think that do you think that'll get to a point where it'll be like unethical, or you would have to go through like a lot of serious legal steps to ban someone off a social media site? And like, to follow up on that, how unethical, or what do you think are the ethics right now behind banning someone off a social media site?
So I think it depends, right? So it's like, and again, in a case where you're banning Trump, you know, a prominent political figure, I think you would have to go through a bunch of certifications and so on, because it's a case of what he says has power, right? Me getting banned for saying something isn't as big or as important as him getting banned, right? Because the reality is that, like, I could get banned, I could go and create a new account, just give a different email, and it's like they're not gonna like look into this so hard where, you know, but like for him, it's like I don't know, like, is it a case where it's like he literally, like, I guess he literally cannot create an account? Like, if they find out he's behind an account, like, they're gonna ban it again. I don't know, like, okay. Because again, it's all about his reach, right?
Okay, well, let's go into like something else. What about, let's say, his followers, right? Let's say there's someone with a platform, you know, they have a couple thousand followers, and they're basically doing the same thing that he does. Do they get banned?
See, that's where it becomes like a really, you know, iffy issue, because we almost see the opposite in certain cases. Like, for example, with Twitch, there are big streamers who can get away with some shit because they're big streamers, right? Whereas, like, if a smaller streamer does it, insta banned, right? Yeah. And like, a lot of times it's perma banned. And it's not even just like a, you know, little, like a slap on the wrist. Sometimes the big streamers don't get a slap on the wrist. Like, it's crazy how, like, there has to be this discrepancy between, you know, okay, if you are big and you have a bunch of like a bunch of people following you and listening to your opinion, then we have to either treat you more harshly or less harshly. Like, it depends, right? In the case of like Trump, it's like, we have to treat you a lot harsher because you have the ability to influence so many people. It's just so weird how it's like almost it's like a double standard, because it really depends on what's at stake. Like, in this case, you know, one can argue literally the fabric of democracy in America was at stake because of the insurrection, right? So yeah, like, in that sense, it makes sense to ban him, right? You know, if he's literally threatening the framework on which this company, on which this country stands on.
What a slip up, bro.
Oh man, you guys too deep for that conversation yet. Oh man, but it's an interesting you know, thing to think about, to talk about. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, man. As I said, like, I don't have the answers, because like I'm all about, like, I've never been someone that uses that thinks anything should be blanketed. Like, a lot of people do, like, they want things to stay consistent, like, all wrong. I'm just like, no. People are different. Situations are different. Like, I think I'm always like, things should be analyzed case by case. But I mean, with the amount of people that there are on these sites,
it's just not possible.
Yeah. And like, you touched on something, maybe in a future episode, like, we could cover like the consistency on Twitch. I want to look into that. Like, so just like in the future, people, that might be coming. For now,
I mean,
though, I think
Twitch has some really yeah, we've been doing this for a while, but like, Twitch has some really messed up, Yeah, again, there have been cases where big streamers do something, they just get off, no problem. Smaller streamer does the exact same thing, maybe not even as bad, problems. So
Yeah.
it's again this double standard, and it's definitely worth discussing. So future episode for sure.
Yeah, but for now, I think we could call it there. Thanks for listening. Hopefully, it's been interesting. I thought we had a interesting discussion this week.
I thought so too. Today was good.
Yeah, and well, just remember, we're not scientists, not engineers, just a couple of gamers that talk tech. All right, peace.
Peace.